The Crewe to Birmingham New Street route was produced by All Aboard Studios nearly a year ago. And now for PC users only, we have a fully fledged and detailed timetable capturing the winter 2019 period from Josh of On Track Simulation. We'll be taking a Class 323 today from Wolverhampton to Four Oaks, but firstly, let's have a look at what is in another amazing pack. This is the third timetable that is released in the last year and a half after West Coast Mainline South and Birmingham Cross City. This captures the time when Virgin Trains still ran the West Coast Mainline services, but as heat were incoming, many of the Pendolinos were by now decked out in this ghost-like livery. However, some were still in the Virgin flowing silk livery at this time. Virgin were operating some Voyager services too, from Glasgow, the North Wales coast and from Shrewsbury. But that's only the start, and masses of timetable runs to pick from, with cross country, Transport for Wales, London North Western, West Midlands Railway, special operations with the likes of Network Rail's Flying Banana, and with a Class 87. Plenty of freight action with a whole range of services with the Class 66. And with the ATS Class 90, and worth noting that the intermodal services are full rake, quite a sight. Whilst we're talking about freight, Crewe Basford Hall has looked comparatively sparse in timetables past. Not here, with an absolute plethora of wagons, locos and freight services. Oxley Depot is also transformed, and if you get your early morning timing right, it's both busy and with a number of ECS workings to operate too. Finally, don't forget to read the comprehensive manual, which gives some insight into the pack's creation, what is included, download instructions and help, and also some plans for the future. An excellent work of art in its own right. Other developers, take note. So hello, welcome to Wolverhampton, and we're going to do today 2 Uniform 10, which is the service 323 service from Wolverhampton to Four Oaks. So let's get in the cab and set up the train. So if you're very eagle-eyed, you'll probably notice that the one in the introduction is not the same unit, but that's kind of the nature of these things. Make sure we've got some day headlights on. We'll open the doors as well. Have some windows open. We might as well set the head code going. And we're all set to go in just about 30 seconds time. So as you can see, already a busy situation. We've got a 170 parts over there, ready to depart platform 1, probably on a Shrewsbury service I would have thought. We've got a Virgin Trains class 221 waiting as well, but I think we've got the road ahead of that. So we are going to start off on time. Try and keep to time as best as we can, but that's always never quite an easy thing to do on these stopping services. Yeah, I'm not quite brave enough to try and do this hoodless or using the dynamic hood. It's rather too complicated. We'll soon be getting up to much faster speeds. First thing to say is that I was looking at the timetable a bit earlier on, but there aren't any Wolverhampton to Four Oaks services in the current timetable. This is kind of a quirk. I don't know when they stopped operating as occasional through runs. And also the 323s, of course, are no longer in operation at all on West Midlands Railway, because there's plenty in operation in the northern region, and of course that includes quite a chunk of these 323s as well from the West Midlands Railway. So if you already downloaded it, hope you're enjoying the pack. And again, just to emphasize, it is kind of like PC only. But if you have got a PC, you haven't downloaded it yet, it's well worth taking the trouble, because you'll have a load of fun, and I can virtually guarantee you that you won't enjoy the experience operating the other timetables quite as much as this. And I was kind of delighted really that we had the opportunity of doing a timetable run covering 2 routes. So that kind of fits in nicely, and although it's not a present day operation of the timetable, I think it's just fantastic that you can actually start off at the starting point at Wolverhampton and then go through to the Bay platform at Four Oaks. That's kind of right up my street. As we travel through the industrial heartland of the West Midlands, of course the Black Country, and it's kind of named like that because of the heavy industry that's always been around and about. And of course back in the day you would have chimneys full of acrid black smoke billing it. Now it's not quite so much like that now, but there's plenty of interest. There's plenty of like old kind of disused factories as well as modern day stuff. There's scrap yards, there's the canal network. It's quite interesting. So only a little 4-car unit. So the first challenge is try and be roughly on time into Cosley. And this is quite a challenging little timetable to keep to. Well, getting downhill as well here, so just got to try and make sure we're not going to go over the 75. I think the secret really is not to put your brakes on really quickly because you're never going to make the timetable. So I'm going to kind of border on about half a mile away from the stop. That should be about enough, I think. There's also the labyrinth of the motorway network as well, and we kind of skirt near to Spaghetti Junction, but even more so when we got into the section the other side of Birmingham New Street. Kind of feel as though once we're below 50, then we're in with a decent shout of making it. And again, I've still braked a bit too harshly, too quickly, because we are going to be a little bit behind time coming into Cosley, as you can see. Quite nice as well to get the character of these stations.
Smethick Galton Bridge, Smethick Rolfe Street, Birmingham New Street, Eston, Erdington, Chester Road, Wild Green, Sutton Coldfield, and Four Oaks. The train at platform 1 is the 0724 West Midlands Railway service to Four Oaks.
I love how it actually says all the stations as well, not just the ones. The front of the train here says Birmingham New Street, but I presume that's just a little bit of a quirk where you can't put places like Four Oaks on the front at this stage of the journey. We'll be right when we do the second part. I mean, for all I know, they might actually have put Birmingham New Street on the real trains. They accelerate away quite nicely. The one thing I would love to have shown off and included was the announcement pack from Lucas, and it's a very, very good pack, but I couldn't quite get it to work, unfortunately, and I've tried all the things he said, and but it's no fault of his. I'm sure it's just a quirk of my PC. I managed to get it briefly working on Saturday night, and then loaded it up Sunday morning and it had gone again, which I find really weird. I mean, I shouldn't need the formation pack, but I've tried just having the original pack in. I've tried using the formation pack as an either or. I've tried kind of each which way when, really, but it just won't function for me for some reason, so I've kind of given up on that, which is a great shame. But that's not to say that I'm not a big fan of his announcements, and really pleased to have the 391 in that we showed on the stream the other week. That was quite nice, and there is some really, really good stuff out there. I mean, there is an argument for saying you probably wouldn't be able to hear it from the cab anyway, so we needn't worry about that being unrealistic.
Calling at Dudley Port, Sandwell and Dudley, Smethick Galton Bridge, Smethick Rolfe Street, Birmingham New Street, Eston, Erdington, Chester, Wild Green, Sutton Coldfield, and Four Oaks. The train at platform 1 is the 0727 West Midlands Railway service to Four Oaks. Calling at
We've got something
South
coming
Welland
through, I think. Here we go.
Smethwick Galton Bridge, Smethwick Grove Street,
Nice to see some traffic there as well, and just a feeling of life, I think, sometimes. I love the fact that we've got routes now where you see sort of people walking about, not just at the stations as well, which I think is a really nice touch. But you kind of want to feel that these are not like ghost-like communities. You know, in real life, they're very, very busy. All the roads in and around are very, very busy. So there's almost a feeling as well with the Trent Valley route coming out with Crewe to Milton Keynes. There was almost that kind of feeling of you've almost forgotten about this route. So I think that this timetable has certainly reawakened the interest. And we always know that OTS and Josh has spearheaded this timetable, that we know it's going to be an absolute masterpiece. Look at that as well. Look at the bridge. I love the fact as well. I mean, to begin with, we were getting routes where, shall we say, the road markings and the roads were very crudely represented. You look at some of the original offerings from Dovetail games. So, unlocked. Tried locking them. Perhaps I've locked them, unlocked them again. We've got something else coming through. 350 this time. But I love the fact that we've kind of got something a bit more realistic now with the road markings. Never did look at the name that's on board this train as well. So Sandwell and Dudley is next, and it's only fairly recently that I realised that Oldbury station is no longer in existence, and I think basically it's no longer needed because of the presence of Sandwell and Dudley, and of course Avanti services stop there. It's more of a mainline station than some of the others, and that was the point, I think, to build a station where frontline services stopped between Wolverhampton and Birmingham New Street. And I've probably mentioned this story a million times before, but if you haven't heard it, well, I don't know where I meant to look actually, but to see whether the report from either Midlands Today or Central News is actually online, because I remember very well the report that the day of this opening in the 80s, the very first train that was due to stop there, there was a banner across the track, only a bit of paper of course, but the driver hadn't checked his notes before he started out the journey, didn't realise he was supposed to be stopping at Sandwell and Dudley, and raced straight through the paper. So it was a little bit of an amusing start to its life, if you like. Yeah, so we might just about be on time here, I think. Caught up a little bit. As you can see, just a plethora of traffic coming. all the way along. It's such a busy stretch.
Midlands Railway service to Oaks.
Yeah, I've just realised I'm supposed to be halfway down the platform here, aren't I?
Platform 1 for the 0733. Oaks. Calling at Smethwick Galton Bridge, Smethwick Rolfe Street, Birmingham New Street, Eston, Erdington, Chester Road, Wild Green, Sutton Coldfield, and Four Oaks.
So we are Chester Road as the name on this unit. And we do have to accept, I think, that when we take the next section to Four Oaks, it's not going to be the same train.
0733 West Midlands Railway service to Four Oaks. Calling at Smethwick Rolfe Street, Birmingham New Street, Eston, Erdington, Chester Road, Wild Green, Sutton Coldfield, and Four Oaks. Will passengers intending to travel on this service please join the train now, as it is ready to leave. Platform 1 for the 0733 West Midlands.
So we might not have the announcements on the train, but at least we've got them on the platform, or at least we have on this route. And therein lies the inconsistency, and I've moaned about it on other videos as well, but I would absolutely love to see the announcements kind of backdated, not necessarily with a remaster, but to have them on all the routes where it's possible to have them. I think that's very interesting concept to have. I mean, not everybody agrees, but just for me, it just adds that little bit of realism, things that you would expect to see and hear in real life. So coming under the motorway here, I think I'm right to say that's the M5, and we will revisit the motorway network a little bit later on when we kind of circumnavigate Spaghetti Junction. Just got me. It's kind of trying to be reasonably careful without overdoing it with these brakes. You can get a bit too cautious and then suddenly find yourself flying through the stations. That's the thing I'm worried about. Should be just about perfect timing here. I've got the hang of it now. So the thing to kind of take note here. Oh, where are we? I feel as though I'm in a bit of a weird hole here. Yeah, I certainly am. I think we're just in a bit of a weird, like, cranky situation. We can't get up. That's strange. I'm kind of behind this wall. I can't get through it. Anyway, the point being that I wonder if we can do it from number 3 camera. Yeah,
Wild Green,
that's better.
Sutton Coldfield.
So the point being, there is, of course, the upper level station here. Now, there's only a short bit of track, and it's kind of Kidderminster in one direction, and then we have Birmingham New Street and beyond in the other direction. But I think Josh has got plans with the next version of this timetable to have trains just going over the bridge there, which would be quite nice to see. So the great thing is you've kind of got the choice as well. You could do the service to Birmingham New Street, which is about 27 minutes, I think, all told. You could do the the one from Birmingham New Street to Four Oaks in isolation. And whichever way you want. If you want to do both, you can do both. So coming into Rolfe Street, which is the last stop before Birmingham New Street, of course. But I do find these little sections just really interesting, and you know, here you've got a little bit of construction going on with a couple of diggers, and it's just a fascinating stretch. I mean, it's very nice to see, you know, lovely scenery, and don't get me wrong, you know, if you're going along the 5 circle line and you go over the 4th bridge, then it's an absolute piece of magnificence. But I just enjoy these, personally, these kind of urban, busy situations. I think that the problem sometimes with these routes is that it needs to fit in with both. It needs to be kind of busy. Nothing wrong with it being scenic, but it needs to be busy as well. So that's kind of me hunch why things like the Settle and Carlisle line, absolutely stunningly beautiful, of course, but not massively busy in terms of trains, so it probably doesn't fit all the criteria. Now I've said that, of course, I'll be proved totally wrong, and we'll find out that's going to be one of the core routes for Trains in World 7, but should just point out probably the hottest day of the year as I'm recording this, and yeah, 37.5 degrees in the car travelling out. Okay, that was uphill a little bit, or in the hills. When we dropped down, it kind of was more like 30, 31, but that's still hot enough for me. Past Soho Depot. Of course, all the trains out in action at this point of the day. And the other thing is, until a few weeks ago, I was kind of crawling into these stations, to Birmingham New Street, and really struggling to find what the problem was. And I thought it was basically just this old sort of setup that I've got, but I switched off DX12 and it's made a huge difference, and suddenly I'm getting reasonable frame rates coming into the station. So I'm guessing that the computer itself is slightly too old to really support DX12. So we're kind of going to be heading downhill now towards the tunnels and into New Street itself. So we've got the 40 mile an hour coming up, and you've got a pretty good marker to know where that starts, and that's basically the entrance to the tunnels. So you don't need any huge route building experience to work that one out. So you are going downhill basically all the way into New Street itself. And again, that 10 mile an hour marker is going to hit you again just about at the tunnel entrance. So it's a tricky one to get just right, because you don't want to be going too fast coming towards the 10 mile an hour, but on the other hand, you don't want to be crawling at 10 mile an hour more than you need to be doing. So you can obviously see two steps to there. There's these markers for this signal, because I'm guessing this is a major spad risk, because you will very often be held at that signal in real life, waiting for things to clear. The thing about Train Sim World at the moment is, apart from your own performance, your own driving, you're kind of never going to be in the situation where the other trains are actually running late. But I was literally, until a couple of weeks ago, I kind of got to the stage where I was crawling. I couldn't, and it was the frame rates were absolutely abysmal. I could not think what on earth I'd done wrong. So I'm glad I've managed to sort that out a little bit. I'm still not going to be expecting absolutely mega frame rates, but I think just to prove there, yeah, we're still like a good solid. I think if we're more than 25, then you kind of stand a chance of it looking genuinely quite smooth. I think in old sort of TV terms, it was like there was a time when you'd kind of get 25 frames per second, so that's quite solid for me. Amazing to hear all the announcements on the other services as well. I think basically we get more or less everything announced apart from the Transport for Wales, which I think is a great shame, because I'd love to hear all the Welsh stations put in. I mean, it might not be the best station in the world to operate, certainly at platform level as a passenger or to be on, but in terms of the busyness, it's a great one.
West Midlands Railway service to Four Oaks, calling at Eston, Erdington, Chester Road, Wild Green, Sutton Coldfield, and Four Oaks.
Could have used the route hopping actually, but to be fair, off the top of my head, I can't even remember where it is. I just want to see, I've said this before, but to my mind, what I really want is a button we can just press where it immediately jumps us to the exact same location, the same position, and hopefully we would be sat here in the cab and straight away onto the next service, preferably without any screen grabs or shots or adverts, just straight into it. Now we can excuse there being passengers waiting there on the platform, because I think it's true to say this isn't the only service that's going to be leaving here, so we'll assume they're going to depart on the next platform. So we've got a cross-country train coming in. I mean, I don't know if there's any ambiguities between the two timetables, so there might be some discrepancies, I'm sure, but essentially we're looking at the same period, the same timetable. I'll tell you one thing we haven't done is, yeah, let's get the GSMR up for whatever it's worth. Such a temptation to go speeding out of Birmingham New Street when it's, in reality, it's 10 miles an hour. So I imagine we got a different name on this one, but we're not going to worry too much about that. Essentially, it's a 4-car unit. It looks very, very similar. And as far as I know, there's probably no easy way of bringing up exactly the same unit. It's probably picked a little bit more randomly than that. I mean, I loved this route when it first came out, and you know, sort of the variations in the services and the fact that you've got both Bromsgrove and Redditch in there, I thought was really nice. But then you were kind of struck by the boring elements to it, and sometimes doing a run from Redditch to Lichfield Trent Valley or Bromsgrove to Lichfield Trent Valley. It's such a long little section. Yeah, just checking. Yeah, we're okay. We're yellow, aren't we? Bit scared by that one. I have to confess, I'm a bit paranoid about these signals because it's so easy to get confused thinking it's a yellow and it's a red. There we go. I mean, that was a red, but it's now changed to green. But we have got 50 mile an hour. I love this little section as well. So that's a section getting off to the right there. We of course need in Train Sim World 7 now, because that would take us off towards Birmingham International and Coventry. Some people would probably like to see Birmingham New Street to Derby put in as well via sort of Burton and Tamworth. You get quite a nice cab view from this 323 as well. It's not kind of like the clipped view that you get from a 350, or for that matter with the units that are currently operating on this line. There's some pretty good reskins of the 377s to mimic the 730s as well. There used to be something like at least 4 tracks here, but you can see where they've been dug up now. We're certainly not going to be stopping at Duddeston here. We're going straight through to Aston. We've got a 45 mile an hour speed restriction coming up as well, but these things could slow down pretty quickly, so we needn't worry about that. So we're coming towards Aston now. Of course, you think Aston and you're thinking in football terms, you think of Aston Villa. Well, I mean, this isn't the station you would actually get off. There's, I think it's Witten, isn't it? Which is the nearest station, which I think is on the Walsall Road. Now, I was having a look on Google Earth, actually, just trying to compare some of these locations, and that church on the left is actually not massively accurate. There is a community centre there in real life, if you're being totally pedantic, I do believe. So we won't get any platform announcements here, unfortunately, not on this route. Now, I've been guilty, to be honest, every time I mention where Aston Villa's football ground is, I've been often pointed out over there, but the reality is it's over here. And I don't think we're quite going to get the chance to get there in time. But I was looking at this in a bit more depth, and to be fair, it's not massively near to the station here, but they have made the effort of putting in a football pitch and also a little structure around it to at least give the impression of Aston Villa's football ground. So fair dues to them for doing that. I always think if you've got a very slow speed to negotiate with, it's a little bit tricky to then be going downhill. You've really got to think about not putting the brakes on too much. It's quite an art, actually, to not getting over the speed limit. So we're not stopping at Gravelly Hill. So, loving the fact that that's plenty of traffic coming through. I mean, maybe it might be slightly busier at this time of the morning in real life, but still a pretty good effort. Again, through the concrete jungle that is Spaghetti Junction. And again, another sort of thing I always mention when I'm doing the cross city line, but of course its real name is the Gravelly Hill Interchange, and I think that was a report. I think basically they sent a local journalist up in a helicopter to have a look at it, and he looked down at it and he said something along the lines of, "Crikey, that looks more like Spaghetti Junction," and the name has sort of stuck. And if you hear traffic reporters nowadays, they will officially almost call it Spaghetti Junction. So I think this is Gravelly Hill. So we're not quite all stations to Four Oaks as well on this service. So yeah, so I mean, in terms of the quality of this route, I don't think it massively needs a remaster, but announcements would be lovely. I mean, if you talk about route extensions, then having Bescott and Walsall then would be pretty awesome. But again, as we always kind of keep seeming to emphasise, or at least DTG do, that remasters don't necessarily mean route extensions. In fact, invariably, they just aren't route extensions. They're just kind of upgrading it a little bit. I'm trying to remember actually which iteration of TSW this came out for now. So we are going to slightly get more countrified as we wander away from the main part of Birmingham, get a little bit more on the outer suburbs. So again, one of those stations where we're stopping in the middle part of the platform, although I've gone slightly past, if it's fair to say, I think. At least we've got passengers anyway. The funny thing is, some of these older routes are actually better with passengers than some of the newer stuff. Yeah, I just feel as though with these shops, nothing wrong with them, but we seem to see the same shops on virtually every route. And you know, I'm not saying we should have a shop add-on mod, but it'd be good to see just a variety. And you know, I think probably to make them realistic with every route is just impossible. But just something to just vary it up a little bit. You can get tremendously bored with seeing the same things. So Chester Road is next. So just to say, by the way, thank you very much for watching. If you've taken the trouble to watch us to this point, then you're doing pretty well. But if you are enjoying the video, then check out the other videos that are on the website, both the recording of the live streams, just something that takes your fancy, hopefully. And if you are enjoying the video and you've not watched us before, then if you would consider liking and subscribing, I'd be tremendously appreciated. And I'm sort of like amazed and humbled at times the level of interest that has been shown so far. Thank you very much to everybody in that respect. I was going to say, why are them two waiting? They think the train's going to come a bit farther up, but at least they've had the they've taken the trouble to actually wander this far down. Okay, they might disappear like magic when they enter the train, but at least they will then sit down somewhere. So Wild Green isn't too far away. Let's have a quick look. So Wild Green, Sutton Coldfield, and Four Oaks. So we're actually only should be about 10 minutes away from the end destination. And then we'll take the journey back. No, we won't. Not on this video, but I love these kind of slightly alternative service patterns, and I didn't even realise that. I don't know how long they ran Wolverhampton to Four Oaks services, but I didn't even realise that it was ever a thing. It's always interesting to look at the scenery as well, because I think unless you know it intimately and you know the particular station, you only then can you have an absolute view on how accurate it is. You know, if I look at Stafford or Stoke, for example, I would know instantly. And but you might say, that building over there, a bit too generic. But I would imagine in the main, give or take, it's pretty good. I love daft little things like that, with having a garden shed and a trampoline. You could jump up on that trampoline and get an even better view of the train. Yeah, that's we're a 4-car, but this one is an extended unit. Same with 4-car, we're 3-car, aren't we? So that would be 6-car over there. I think I'd already locked the doors up. Sut Coalfield is next, and we're kind of getting into, you know, a lot more going on in terms of the area. Very much a big residential district, which is you know, sort of well outside of the periphery of Birmingham. I still find it a little bit bizarre that Dovetail Games managed to get the license quite straightforwardly, it feels, for West Midlands Railway. Now, West Midlands Railway is basically owned by a company, West Midlands Trains, and they also operate London North Western Railway. So, just to be totally confusing, but they are one and the same company. They're just kind of like trading names. And I suppose, to be fair, you didn't want to be doing a London Euston to Birmingham New Street service and call it West Midlands Railway. So I kind of get the need for the variation. But somewhere along the way, DTG seemed to lose their way a little bit, because we had West Coast Main Line South being announced, and we saw the stations decked out in with the LNWR logo, and then they announced just before the release that actually they hadn't got the license and they would have to remove it. There'd been a bit of confusion, and that's never been sorted out since. Interestingly, we never saw a 350 with the LNWR logo on. I'm pretty sure in all the promotional material. So perhaps they thought, as long as we use it on just the stations, then we're okay. I mean, needless to say, with PC mods, it was sorted out within days anyway. Pet gripe, as I've said before a million times, and you'll know this, I'm sure, but can we please have a camera 8 thing that can move past objects, or doesn't zip us up into the roof of the station every time? It's nice to be able to look around a little bit more straightforwardly. I still quite like the effort that they made with this 323. I think it was Daisy, who works for sort of West Midlands Trains, who recorded a lot of the sounds and got lots of stuff done for this. I wonder what happened to her, because she was prominent on the West Coast Mainline South preview, but that's the last I can recall us ever hearing it from her. So interesting. You never get the stories behind these things, do you? Some people probably say mind your own business. But I don't know, it's just, you just hear these characters and then they're gone without trace or explanation. Must keep an eye on these signals, actually, so it'd be maddening to go wrong at this point. But we've got a single yellow, which might suggest that the the next one, because of course we've got to cross over the tracks to gain access to the bay platform, so we could face there we go, we're all right. That would have been our offending train, so I'm guessing that we should now get an approach control which will clear once we get there, but again, just got to be a tad careful. Yeah, there we go. We're lit up with a yellow now, and I presume B means the bay platform. So yeah, so plenty on this timetable. I've done a fair bit on other videos as well with the live streams, but we certainly won't lose sight of this timetable and the live streams. So very, very interested, and another wonderful creation from Josh over at OTS. And remember, as long as you got all the layers, it's totally and utterly free. So all the months and months of hard work that's been put into making this is, well, just beyond belief. I'm just glad that he's getting a little bit of reward with creating official stuff now for Just Train. So his talents are being sort of noted and I don't want to say taken advantage of, but you know what I mean. So next, perhaps on this route I've got planned, I might just do one of those empty carriage workings early morning out of Oxley Depot, and then take us through to Birmingham New Street, that kind of like first service of the day. And if you do it in the summer, it's still fairly light. You kind of get an early morning interesting vibe to it. Ah, right, yes, there is a way out here. I was wondering where their passengers were going, but they're not like Train Sim Classic where they do some stupid meandering. Yeah, to be fair, that looks like a bit of a walk up there, doesn't it? So thank you very much for watching, and say just one last time to say it, but if you enjoyed the video and you've not done it before, please, if you could consider liking and subscribing. Join us 5 PM on Sundays for our Train Sim World 6, presumably soon to be 7, live streams. We do 4 hours at 5 PM, but that's it. Thanks for watching. Until next time, from Powerflower, Trains and Planes, it is, for now, goodbye.